there. Welcome to another episode of A Date with Kiki. I am Kiki, your host. As you know, A Date with Kiki is a show that opens everyone up to the inner world of men. The purpose of A Date with Kiki is to give men a platform to reform the world's view about the male gender, mentor each other across the globe, and give clarity to questions fellow men, boys, or anyone could be asking about men. Today, we're going to be talking about what success means to men. And I've got on the show with me to deal with this topic, DJ. Well, we call him DJ, but his name is Deji Shobanjo. So please welcome with me, Deji Shobanjo, to A Date with Kiki.
Thanks for having me, Kiki. Glad to be here.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to have you on A Date because I know you're a loaded man. You have a lot here to tell us today. So Deji is a man with many hats who is driven by the passion to teach, train, motivate, inspire himself as well as others to live a productive life, an effective life based on, some fundamental principles and values that he's built for himself over the years. Yeah. Now, Deji, do you want to tell us more about what you do? Because I know I'm one of your mentees.
Okay. Well, like you said, I've had a really interesting, I think describing me as just someone who cares really about people development. That's really what drives me primarily. So, for example, in the corporate world for over 15 years, I've worked as a management and leadership development specialist. So helping organizations develop the managers and the leaders within the business who deliver the plan. That's something I've done in corporate. I've had the privilege of doing that here in the UK. I've also had the privilege of going into other countries, working with organizations, helping them develop their leaders. Aside from that, also, I've been on a very interesting entrepreneurial journey for about 17 years. And it's been really interesting, very challenging.
On that journey that I came to know about you, the entrepreneurial journey, helping other people to build themselves as on that journey.
So I started a company in 2014 called Profit from Coaching. And the purpose of this particular organization was to equip coaches, help them build a profitable business around their passion for helping others. Since we started it in 2014, we've had the privilege of helping a few thousand coaches to be able to start and maybe to also be able to grow their businesses. And so usually the people would come with expertise that they already have, or maybe something they really care about. But it's how do I build a business around that? And that's what I've been able to do there as well. And in addition to that, I also have been involved in what we call youth ministry, which basically means just helping young people in church to be able to equip themselves, enable themselves for the life of an adult. And I've been privileged to do that as well for a fairly long time. So yeah, that's it. So I'm really passionate about growth and development, being the best you can be, maximizing whatever is inside of you in life, especially in the marketplace.
Thank you very much. That's a whole lot there. And well, as much as we can today, we'll be getting a lot out of DJ. Permit us, we'll call you DJ on Date with Kiki. I know your name is DJ Shobanjo, but
everyone calls me DJ, so that's fine.
Okay, so we'll join them and we'll call you DJ. So like I said earlier on, today we're going to be talking about success. I know success is a relative term, what it means, but we want to know what success means to me.
Okay, that's a really interesting thing, because if you ask 10 people what success is, you'll probably get 10 different responses. So I guess the real question really is, what is success really? Because to succeed simply means to do something and get it right. And grammatically, that's what success means. But actually, if you're going to look at success within the context of life, it is really fulfilling. And there's two critical words I like to play with, words full and filled, right? Fulfilling, maximizing who you are on this planet. Everyone's here for a while, we don't know how long. We hope that it will be a fairly long while, but the reality is it's really, so whether I'm in a school for a period of time, or I work in an organization for a period of time, or whatever it is, it is in that period of time, can I really make the most of the time that I am here? And really in the context of for myself, as well as for others, and as well as for society at large. So the ability to make the most of what I have in the time frame that I have it is how I would like to describe success. You know, so like I said, you ask different people and you would probably get a gazillion different responses.
I like the way you broke it, full and filled.
Yeah.
You know, being able, your ability to live a fulfilled life, depending on what your definition of success is.
Yeah.
So now, looking at us, I wouldn't say we're not the 21st century children. So comparing our lives now, or your life as a man, because we're talking about men. Sorry, I'm a woman, so let's leave it to you guys. Looking at the life of our men or older men and the 21st century teenager, what would you say the difference is in the definition of success?
No difference whatsoever. The reality is, across generations, right? Across generations, it's just the definition of the trappings of success will be different, but the motivations are the same because we're all human, right? Especially with men. Now, there's some slight, subtle differences, but the reality is where everyone is driven to a certain degree to achieve, however you describe achievement. And so for two young people, it would not be the same thing. For two older people, it would not be the same thing. But everybody is, however they define achievement in their head, and their belief that they can achieve it will determine how they define success. So, but actually success really, it's still, because the reason I'm saying this is because becoming fulfilled, now the challenges you face may be different across generations, not just generations, could also be different across cultures as well, could also be different across environments where you live. But the reality is the motivation is still the same for every man. Every man wants to be able to live a life that they can be proud of, right? Whether you're 16 or 60. You see, there's still that motivation to want to live a life you can be proud of. It's just that what that life I could be proud of will be different from one individual depending on how old they are, depending on the family they come from, depending on the part of the world they live, depending on the culture that they were brought up in. But we still are driven by a desire to want to make something of our lives. Sometimes we may not believe that we have what it takes to succeed, and that's a different thing. So that's where, even though I want to succeed, I don't have the motivation to succeed because whether it's because my daddy had maybe it might have been daddy or it might have been school that has consistently knocked you back and told you don't have what it takes. Sometimes, little different things happen for people where they don't strive for success because their environment has conditioned them to believe they don't have what it takes to succeed. But deep down inside, the desire is there. We were created to succeed.
So now you said some people do not have the motivation to succeed because the society has, conditioned something else inside of us. Now, as a parent raising boys or boy, how would you condition your child to want to succeed? Because again, like you said, the different motivations, the different definitions of success. And if we want to face the reality, looking at what's happening in our world today with our young boys, I would say they're getting the definition of success totally wrong. So how would you condition your son when it comes to success? How would you condition him and motivate him to want to succeed?
Should I give you the honest answer? My first responsibility is not my son. My first responsibility is myself. I think the biggest challenge right now is we have messed up people trying to raise people who are well put together. You see, it's ridiculous that we keep saying, oh, we have youth problem, we have, gang crime problem, we have all of that. No, we have messed up daddy problems. So before we try to fix the kids, it's yourself that you need to fix. The thing is, we're very good at putting up a persona. We're very good at putting it up like we're all together. But deep down inside, we know we're messed up, right? And so we keep saying, oh, young people are this. One of the weirdest things is the older generation consistently complain about the younger generation. The younger generation is a reflection of the fact that we're messed up and we think that we could be messed up and raise a people who are put together. So the reality is it's less about fixing them. It's more about acknowledging we need to be fixed. That's the big thing.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't want to go that way, but since you've taken us that, it's a lot to think about in that area, particularly when it comes to fathers raising sons. And you said something that we will take a break now, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more on the fact that a messed up generation is trying to raise a fixed generation.
Yeah.
Please stay tuned and we'll be back to finish that. Hello again, and thank you for staying tuned. And like I promised, I still have DJ here with me.
Yep.
DJ has been talking a lot about, you know, some deep things, but the last thing he said before we went on a break was a broken generation, a messed up generation trying to raise a fixed generation. Yeah. Can you please explain more to us what you mean about those two?
Okay, it's really, we're in I call it a dilemma here, right? Where, for whatever reasons, right, we're not together. What I mean is we're not together is we're very flawed. And we're very flawed, and now we're thinking that a flawed person can groom the next generation to be perfect. And I think one of the challenges is because we try to make it like we are all together, even though we're not. And the fact that how do we know we're not all together? The proof is in the generation we're grooming. Because you can't produce what you don't have. Okay? So in a situation where for whatever reasons, maybe because we didn't have good parenting, or maybe it's because we were exposed to negative influences. So a lot of negativity has been conditioned into us. And sometimes we kind of, and I'm going to carefully say this, we do well in spite of this. Or rather, we present an image like everything's together, but actually we're not. So maybe I'm doing okay in the marketplace. I got some breakthrough at work, right? And so we think that, okay, I'm kind of done well. And so it's enabled me to afford certain things. I could really feel like I am successful. But actually deep down inside, I know I'm struggling with one thing or another. I know that I'm flawed in certain areas. I know that, whatever it is, maybe it's a lack of integrity, so there's things, Paul said it. Oh, sorry. There's someone who I really look up to. He said, the things I really want to do, I struggle doing them, and the things I don't want to do are the things that I find myself getting caught up in, right? And this is a place where many men is we're struggling to be who we really want to be. So yes, I could be successful in the marketplace, but I can't just be successful, behaving in the certain ways that I know I want to behave, because I find myself doing things that I would rather not be doing, and I hope nobody would really find out about me. So it could be something as basic as knowing that at work I am not doing as much as I should be doing. I should put in more of myself because that's who I want to be. I want to be someone who is committed and who shows up, who works with integrity. But actually I find myself slacking, coming late, leaving early, hoping that no one notices that I'm slacking, that sort of thing, to lots of other things. And it's because of how we were brought up. So the reason why we are the way we are is because we were brought up by imperfect people anyways. We were brought up in imperfect environments anyways. Find ourselves
raising generations.
And so we now think that in our imperfections or in our flaws, we can groom the next generation. The first, it's really interesting when you're on a plane. They say to you, right? Right? They say, just in case anything goes wrong, and the oxygen bags, they say, make sure you grab one and put it on first before you do it for anybody else, even if it's the child that you love. And that's really where we are right now. It's not about grooming the next generation, even though that's important. It's about actually, and this is it, identifying and acknowledging that I need help getting fixed myself. That is the first thing. I think if we have more men who would be honest, who are not afraid of being open and honest and acknowledging where our flaws are and identifying some of us, now this is a reality, some men don't even know they're flawed.
Exactly.
Right? Some men don't even know that they're flawed. The reality is this, and I'll say a few things. How would you know if you're flawed? A few things. Look at your life. So first of all, are you a person of integrity? Are you a person of your word? I'll just share a few things to help you know if you're flawed. Do you do things that you hope and hope that nobody finds out? If that's happening for you, even though nobody knows, you're flawed and you will hurt the next generation. Other things are you struggling to be happy in your relationships with people, especially with a spouse, right? Whatever it is. If that's going on, you're flawed, right? So these are some of the things that we could begin to identify to understand that actually we are flawed. Are you struggling even in the marketplace?
But men do not. I don't know. I might be wrong, but we all have I think it's a general notion that asking for help is being a weakling. So now you're saying if you know you're flawed, try to fix it. How do I fix it?
Well, you literally highlighted the biggest problem men have. We have been conditioned to believe strength is in not crying. Strength is in coming across as having it all together. No, there's another word for that. And it's not strength, it's foolishness.
Okay.
And I know that's a strong word, but sometimes we need to reach men with strong words. You can't, you don't just pussyfoot around things with men. We've got to be very, very direct. If you know that you don't have it all together, right, and you don't seek help because you don't want people to know you don't have it all together. Yeah. It's not just you, it's your children. Yeah. And I think this is a message we need to get across. Many of us tell our children off. Many of us, how could you not know not to do that? Hold on, mate. Hold on, right? You're trying to fix him or her. Fix you. And this is now the step to fixing you is actually identifying that you're flawed and looking for help. The first step, men, that's one thing men need to do, right? Knife crime and all these other things that we have in inner cities like London and in places like Liverpool and in places in Scotland where we have knife crime and a lot of this negativity with young boys.
It's no longer in the big city alone. It's moving on to the suburbs.
Right. Now, the thing is, the way to fix this, right? Because you've got to understand crime with young people, right, in certain inner cities is not a new thing.
Yeah.
It didn't just start happening in the 2000s.
No.
It didn't start in the 90s or the 80s or the 70s. It's always been. And, a child who's involved in that sort of lifestyle, even if he stops doing that, it's still until they actually go through a process that begins with saying, you know what, my life is messed up. I need help. And because, see, men are conditioned, again, it's almost like everything, we're set up to fail. We're made to believe that we're meant to be in charge. Right? We're meant to be in charge.
And so because somebody else is in charge, you feel like
so what happens is when you're meant to be in charge, right, which means we translate men to be in charge to men to have it all together. So rather than seek help when we're flawed, we cover our flaws and pretend that we're okay. Right? We cover our flaws and pretend we're okay. But those flaws will affect people. It would affect you, first of all. It would affect the woman you're married to and the children who you have. It would affect the people who you work with. And it will affect the people who come around you one way or another. People who everybody could get the best out of you if you work on becoming the best that you can be. And it begins with, because you can't fix yourself. See, that's the thing. I can't fix myself. The flaws that I have, right? The only thing I can do is I can be ready to do whatever it takes. But I need help. And it's usually a person, right, who has the ability and the skills and the ability to help you. But I can't help you if you're not committed to being helped. So, I think that there's a lot of talk about fixing the next generation. But actually, we're not talking a lot about the generation that actually is in charge at the moment. And I think that's one thing we need to focus on.
That's a lot there. And I think you've said it all. That's the truth. that a lot of us run away from. We don't want to hit this thing on the head as it should be. And thank you so much for opening that up. We won't go so deep into that, even though we've gone so very deep already. There's still a lot to be said in that area. And I'm sure in future, I'm sure you'll be happy to come back and do this again. But now let's go back to our main topic, which is success. Earlier on, you talked about how success is being projected. What we see out there, everybody is successful, everybody has it all together. How does this affect our younger generation in terms of success? The way we project success to our younger boys today, how do you think this affects them?
So you see, right now, we've got to understand that who we are as people is the same, but what we're exposed to, your environment, impacts a lot on how you turn out. Now, you've got to understand the difference between someone who was maybe a teenager in the 80s or the 90s or even the early 2000s to the late, this particular period of time. And early on in the early 2000s, we have the internet. Now we have social media. Now, what social media simply does is social media means right now that I can leverage the internet to put whatever it is I want to put in front of the world. So, projection or image projection has been around for a while. When I was growing up, right, we all wanted to be like certain people who we saw as stars. Well, we wanted to wear Timberlands because Belle Biv DeVoe wore Timberlands and that sort of thing. It was what we aspired to, right? Now, and so it's because that's what was projected. So that was so it's really interesting. I lived in Nigeria, and at the time, people wanted to wear head warmers, even though those were winter. But that's what we saw, the people who were projected to us wearing head warmers. And you would see a young gentleman in Lagos in the heat of about 38 degrees wearing a head warmer. Why? Because that's projection. We buy what is shown to us. So you've got to understand a young person who is born in this day and age where you have Instagram, right? And you have Facebook. And so what we have is we have a young person who is presented, because there's certain people who present images. And I'm going to say this right now. I know we kind of know it, but you need to hear it right now, right? 95% of what you see on social media is fake. Right. Now, let me explain what I mean by that, because what I mean is it's presented. It's a projection. It is a person trying to present an idea or a perspective to you. Okay. So I take 10 pictures from 10 different angles and until I find the one that looks perfect. And then after doing that, so first of all, I take the perfect picture. Right. And then after doing that, I then start to think, okay, I still need to work on that picture a little bit to make it look really, really good. And then I say, oh, thank God, just quickly doing something in the kitchen. Thank God for a beautiful day. Right. And I put that up. Now, someone sees that thinking, whoa,
and I've had a messed up day.
Yeah. And this begins to think, and then you begin to think like, wow, everybody else has got it right except you. I didn't have that much pressure. Right? So so what then begins to happen is people present an image of success. And the reason why they do it is because it works. Success is attractive. So what people do is, and understand, because I have a strong marketing background. When you present an image of success, it attracts people to you. For many people, the vehicle for their success is to present an image of success. So actually they attract people to them. So that helps them to become what they might call successful. And they keep on presenting that. And that's basically the way it works. And so and it happens a lot with young people. So right now you have people who are very young right now who are presenting images, and they're selling these images, and then other people are mimicking that. So we could have one person who's maybe 25 who's very successful, right? And because other 25-year-olds can see how this person's getting a lot of attention and a lot of that, so we then have, for every one person who really is successful, we have about 100 who are going to copy that brand. Right? So, and they present that same image because they can see what's happening for this person. We now have 101 seemingly successful people. Actually, there's just one, right? But now I'm just going through my timeline. I'm going through my stories, and it seems like I'm a failure. I'm 23 and look at what's happening with me. Right? And all of a sudden, I'm now aspiring, ridiculous aspirations. Now, I want to say something, especially for the young man who is watching this, right? One of the keys to success in the marketplace, and hear this, I don't care what anybody says, right? There are more millionaires, and this is from generation to generation, more millionaires created in their 40s than any other age group. That's the one thing I want to say. More millionaires are created in their 40s than any other age group. Now, why is that? And I'm going to explain why. It's because a person who really commits themselves to growth in their 20s works through that. And in their 30s, they go through the failures, they learn, they mess up, they learn and all of that. By the time they get to their 40s, as long as they haven't lost hope, they have the benefit of wisdom. When you have wisdom and you haven't lost sight of a vision, right, you enjoy accelerated progress because now you have a stronger network. Now you have, everything's in place to help you really enjoy success. So in your 20s, you should, now people, there's negativity around the word hustle. What I would tell you is focus on being the best you can be. Now, if I'm a young man in my 20s, what should I do, right? Serve, and I'm going to say this, and this is going to be very radical, this is going to be very contrarian, because a lot of people are telling you can do it by yourself, and that's nonsense. What you want to do when you're young, right? And again, don't be deceived by social media because it will lie to you, right? The images are fake, but instead, serve a master. Now, what on earth does that mean?
Okay.
What on earth does serve a master?
I don't want to be a slave.
Right? Now, the reality is this. When you see anybody, right? Now, when you see most people, let me correct that. Most people who are at the top of the game in every industry, right? Whatever that industry is, you will find a time when they were serving the best of the best. There is a reason why, right? We say to people when they graduate from university, don't just go for the highest paying job. In this industry that you're looking to be, who is the best of the best? Get on the grad scheme there, even if they're paying rubbish money, doesn't matter. Because when you learn from the best of the best, and this is critical, you've really got to nail this one. When you learn from the best of the best, when you go in there to work and you learn from the best of the best, you leverage everything they have. You have all their insights. By the time you're out to launch, you're not just, you see, ideas are a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
Right? Ideas are a dime a dozen. And there's lots of frustrated online wannabes. What do I mean by that? They keep showing up and taking the pictures and doing the videos and all of that, presenting an image. It's all on borrowed stuff. And I know that because I've had the privilege, because of what I've done with Profit from Coaching, is people come to me, they present one image and all of that, like it's all together. But when they're on the phone with me, they're like, it's not all together. It's a very, well, I'm used to it, so I'm not, But the thing is they project that image, other people think they have it together, and they're attracting more people to something that actually is not working. What that person should do, which they don't want to do, is find a master. It could be an organization, it could be an individual, and then basically serve that. So serving the master could mean it might just be a low-paying job that you're doing, and you're learning from the best. So whatever that industry is, you're having the privilege of literally, you're sitting there, you're observing how they deal with clients. You're sitting there, they're observing how they handle problems. You're sitting there, you're beginning to have access to their network, and all of a sudden there's so much growth that happens for you. So by the time you then step out to finally start to do your thing, you're not like the other guy who's just all talk and no substance, right?
And I want to bring back that's back to what we said about the home, a broken man trying to raise a fixed person. So in this case, somebody who doesn't have it all together, trying to teach somebody how to have it all together.
And the thing is, right, for you, young person, and this is really important, young man, right? I want to give you something, right? If you're in your 20s, right, you have a lot of your life ahead of you now. I know, because I've been there, right? I know what it's like when you think 1 year is your whole life. Oh my goodness, I've messed up. My life is messed up. Nah, you haven't. You still have the rest. Trust me, I'm in my 40s right now, and I know how I felt then when, I missed the year. I didn't get into university the year I graduated, right? And for a lot of people who were like me, it felt like a big disaster. It's just 1 year, right? So the time that you invest in serving a master, by the time you're able to learn there and be the best you can be there, when it's time for you to step up and show up, you will be miles ahead of all the people who are trying to be what they're not by just projecting, right? So what I'm trying to say is this: just calm down, right? There's someone who I know, a story. He was anointed to be king. Anointed to be king simply means he was called out that he was going to be the next king of his country. But you know what happened as soon as you would think, well, he's meant to be king. I'm just going to take some selfies, next king of the land, and that sort of thing. And I am king, and all of that. But what did he do? His first job was to actually be the person, whenever the current king, right, was in distress, he comes in and he plays music for him. He had the opportunity to be close to the king and understand how things were run. He was going to replace this king, but he actually served the master. He learned a lot from that king. So by the time 20 years later, I know that might seem like a long time, he finally became king. He wasn't an idiot king. He was a better king than the previous king, right? But why? Because he had learned a lot from the master. I'm not saying it's going to be 20 years for you, okay? Right? But what I am saying is, and this is a secret, is don't just think, oh, I've got to get out there, I've got to hustle, I've got to get this, I've got to do this. By the time I'm 25, I need to have this. Calm down. Calm down. You've got the rest of your life ahead of you. If you mess up your 20s, right, then you're going to struggle. You're going to be way behind those who are serving the masters in their 20s. You will be. So decide to use that approach, and it will make a big difference for you.
Wow. Thank you very much. For me personally, one thing I'm taking away is calm down, serve the master, and you will reap the reward in years to come. No year is wasted. And I like what you said about, when you thought you lost a year. Going into uni. A lot of our youth right now, they don't want to lose any year. And for me, I think that's because we painted, back to what you said, we painted success in an unrealistic way, projected it in a wrong way. And then again, another thing you said, DJ, that I want to resound and want us to take away is get ourselves fixed as adults. That's very key. You need to fix yourself as an adult before you think of fixing the next one. Because an unfixed person trying to fix the next generation is even making it worse. And then we'll find ourselves going around the circle. And thank you very much.
I was going to say, if there's any man who's watching this, you're a man, you're a father, right? I know we want our children to turn out well, but you can still turn out well. And I think, this is where, find a mentor, find a spiritual mentor, someone, and then just say, I need help in this area of my life. Acknowledge I'm messing up in my marriage isn't working, or, wherever it is you're messing up, and say, I'm struggling with this one thing. I'm struggling with one addiction or another. I'm struggling with one flaw or another. I need help. You don't need to go out to the whole world, but you've got to be able to go to someone and say, help me. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There is nothing else to add to that. It's been an amazing date. And I'll do this over and over again with DJ. Thank you for staying tuned, and I'll see you again next week. Cheers.